Hey guys, welcome back to Moyong, the cooking channel that's not so useless. The dish in today's video will be no surprise to many, and I'm sure the majority of Chinese Asian families have made Chinese steamed egg at least once. It's a real cheap Chinese staple that's eaten with rice, and it's extremely simple to make. Texture-wise, it's silky smooth and honestly, just plain fun to jiggle. Now if you do enjoy this recipe, do consider subscribing for more videos, as it really does help the channel out. And to make today's recipe, we'll be doing two things: make the sauce and make the steamed egg. Now of course, the sauce is completely optional, and regular soy sauce will suffice. If you don't want the sauce, then just skip ahead to the timestamp on the screen. So, the sauce we're going to make is a nice complementary sauce to dishes that are more on the blander side, such as steamed chicken or fish. To make the sauce, we're going to need light soy sauce, oyster sauce, chicken powder, water, and sugar. For the quantities, we need 1 cup of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce, 1 teaspoon of chicken powder, 1 cup of water, and 2/3 cups of sugar. Now just a quick heads up, this recipe will make way more sauce than what's required for the steamed eggs, but you can keep this sauce in the fridge and reheat it anytime. So in a pot, add in all of the ingredients. Then turn the heat on high. Continuously stir the sauce until the sugars melt. Once the sugars melt, let the sauce continue to cook until it starts to boil. When it boils, turn the heat down low and let it cook for another minute. After that, turn the heat off and the sauce is done. Give it a little taste test with something bland, like rice, and let the sauce cool down until needed for use. So it's really simple to make a steamed egg, and we'll need eggs and water. And completely optional, we like to also add in a salted egg. To make a silky smooth steamed egg, you need to have a good ratio of egg to water. If you're not using a salted egg, then we suggest you use the standard 1 part egg to 1.5 part water. But if you are using a salted egg, then we suggest bumping that ratio up to 1 part egg to about 1.7 or 1.8 parts water. And this is simply because the salted egg has a lower moisture content. Anyways, we want to measure the volume of our eggs, and we start off by cracking the salted egg first. Now, we're only interested in measuring the egg white portion, so keep the salted yolk on the side for later. Then, just crack the rest of the eggs in. In total, we had about 220 ml of egg. Next, transfer the eggs into a bowl and beat the eggs until they're nice and runny. Moving on to the water, there are a few things you need to be mindful of before you add it. 1. Don't use direct tap water. Pressurized water holds more air, and when unpressurized, results in air bubbles, which will ruin the smooth surface and texture of the steamed egg. 2. Use water that has been boiled, but more specifically, use warm boiled water. Boiled water gets rid of those pesky air bubbles, and warm water binds better with the egg without cooking it. And 3. Of course, use the egg to water ratio of 1.5 or about 1.7 to 1.8 for the inclusion of a salted egg. To make the warm water, we're going to use about 3 parts slightly lower than room temperature water to 1 part boiling water. And as a reminder, we had 220 ml of egg, so we're going to have about 400 ml of warm water. Add the warm water into the beaten egg, making sure to lightly mix as you pour. Now you'll notice that the liquid is foamy and clearly has bubbles, and we want to remove those bubbles. But before that, going back to our salted egg yolk, cut it into smaller pieces. Then spread them out in your cooking dish. Now speaking of your cooking dish, make sure you use a shallow dish, as it does help the steamed egg cook more evenly. Also, make sure your dish is small enough, such that you have enough finger room to lift it in and out of your steamer with ease. Or, you can just use one of these. Okay, so enough with our tangent. We're going to run our eggy solution through a sieve. And then with a spoon, scoop up as much of the remaining foam as possible. Moving on to our steamer, add in water, turn the heat on high, then put the lid on and let the water boil. When the water boils, put your egg in and put the lid on. Then immediately turn the heat down low. If the heat is too high, then the steamed egg will end up with a wrinkly surface, so make sure you turn it low. For us, we find that steaming for 7 to 8 minutes is our sweet spot, but this will not hold true for everyone. Depending on how high your heat is, the thermal conductivity of your material, how deep your dish is, and how many eggs you use, you'll need to tweak the timing a little to suit your situation. At the very least, a good indication that your steamed egg is ready is if the center of the steamed egg is set. And if you're wondering what a 1 part egg to 1.5 water with no salted egg looks like, well, this is the result after 6 minutes of steaming. 7 minutes in, be careful when lifting up the lid, as we don't want the condensation from the lid falling back into our steamed egg. Now hopefully you can identify it, but the middle of our steamed egg was still a tad bit runny, so we continued steaming for another minute. 8 minutes in, again, careful with the lid. And as you can see, the middle is now set. So take your steamed egg out. Now, because we don't cover the steamed egg, we actually need to carefully drain the top layer of condensation from the surface. If you don't want to have to go through this trouble, then wrap your dish up before you put it in the steamer. It's just a personal preference, but we don't like cooking with plastic. And with that, your steamed egg is pretty much done. Top it with the sauce, and get distracted by its jiggliness, along with some sesame oil, and finally some chopped green onion. And then your steamed egg is done. Just look at how custardy this bite is, and how evenly cooked the egg is. So guys, that was my family's recipe for steamed egg. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you ever get the chance to make this at home, be sure to tell us how it goes. And if you want to see any of our future videos, be sure to subscribe. See ya.